Stand as approved. Public comment, item 5. This is a time where the public has an opportunity to come and comment on any item that's not on the agenda and address that with the City Commission. We just ask that you come forward and state your name. None being, we'll move on to item number 6.
Item 6A, Mayor and Commissioners, Shay Sinclair and Troy Unruh on behalf of Live Well Finney County are here to discuss with the governing body the upcoming Live Well Healthy Community Design Summit in February.
Welcome, Shay and Troy.
Thank you. It's a long introduction.
It sounded really important. I was like, well, that's just the way Matt read it.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. You will recognize us as staff of the Community Foundation. We're here to tell you a little bit about a collaboration that we're working on called Live Well Finney County, and a convening we're working hard on to bring in February, early February of 15. We're excited about the potential for Garden City and some learning that we're trying to bring to our community about healthier communities and livable and walkable and bikeable communities.
The other thing we want to tell you about is we're really excited to bring in a special speaker. His name is Mark Fenton, and you can see he's got a really great website, but Mark Fenton's claim to fame is he is an Olympic race walker. And but he really is very energetic. He does a lot of work, again, as Shay said, really helping communities understand the necessity to really move forward in making communities really livable communities with walkability and bikeability. So we wanted to make sure, we just wanted to come today to invite you, in particular, to let you know how important it is. We are having a special dinner, invitation only, of policymakers. And Mark will really be speaking specifically to policymakers about what that looks like in the community. We also have a lady named Mary Morrow coming from the Public Health Law Center out of Minneapolis. And they have done some really great work with the Kansas Health Foundation and an initiative called Healthy Community Design to develop a really great information about policies that you can actually implement that are really move forward that idea of health. And we don't want to miss this opportunity to say thank you about the Community Health Advisory and Committee. We are really excited about that and the work that they'll be doing for our community and also for you. And thank you for your service. And we especially appreciate just having this time during this time of the year. We know it's a busy time with budgets and everything else.
Also, we have just a reminder card. We've been speaking to Lynn about the opportunities coming up in February, but this is just a reminder card to let you know what's available, some of the events we'd love to invite you to and to join us. If you have any questions, please call us at the foundation or wherever you can get a hold of us. And I brought several of these, and I'll just pass them around.
Yeah, we do have a fun run that we would like to invite you to. It's from 6 to 7. It's really like a fun walk run, but it's going to be right down our own Tally Trail. We are really proud of that in Garden City, and I'll tell you, the rest of the state's proud of it. They talk about it all over. So we want to invite you to that. You'll get a really nice, not t-shirt, but really cool, something to remember that by, but also just an idea to really help others understand that these events can encompass health, not just, sitting down in meetings. And the food will be really healthy too. So Shay's working on that.
And when is the fun run?
The fun run is Tuesday, February 3rd.
I'm sure Commissioner Dale would like to volunteer for that.
Yes, yeah.
We have lots of different events trying to engage the community. We're inviting all of the healthy community design teams throughout the state to join us here for this convening. So we're hoping to bring in lots of great ideas from around the state on how they've incorporated healthy living ideas in their community too. So we would invite you to join us. We think it will be well worth your time. And if you have any questions, please get a hold of us.
Mark Fenton was at the League conference.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And you will not regret going to his deal. I can assure you.
Yeah,
Very good.
He's quite.
We're glad that you guys have heard of him. I mean, he is really worth everything that we're doing. And the thing that's really great is that we're going to walk away with this from an incredible opportunity to understand how we can do what we can do better for our community with a really great feasibility report. So we had a lot of things built into this, and so we're really working hard to invite the people that really want to see there as far as policymakers. So we just appreciate your time.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll make that cut.
Yeah. Going on to item number 7.
7A, Mayor and Commissioners, Ashley's provided the outline for the Citizens Academy. It begins March 5th. And just spread the word around the community. This is a great event, and folks interested in signing up for the Citizens Academy can do so online or call our office 276-1160. Ashley and the staff have put together a good lineup there. And item 7B, Mayor and Commissioners, is just an update on the power supply and utility finances, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike for a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I'd like to provide you with an electric utility update since we made the change in power supply at the end of 2012, beginning of, the end of 2013, beginning in 2014. What I'd like to do is we have a couple slides I'll walk through here in just a second, but before we do that, I'll just kind of go over some of the background information. As you know, we switched power providers in January of 2014 and went to KMEA. I think I might make that. 2013 was the last year that we had received power as an all requirements customer from Wheatland Electric Cooperative. During 2013, before KMEA took over, they secured all the necessary power supply and transmission requirements to get power to Garden City. Also successfully installed 27 megawatts of generation that's located at the Jameson Energy Center. I know you've been there and you're familiar with that, which made the Jameson Energy Center operational in May of 2014. Just recently, the end of December, we did, as we brought to your last meeting, we come to a settlement agreement with Wheatland and Sunflower and KMEA and Garden City on the local access charge that we're being charged to use some of Wheatland's facilities for delivery of power. The power supply costs in 2013 that we paid to Wheatland Electric, I can see if I can get the same word. Yeah, there we go. In 2013, the total power, these are the charges that it goes to the city of Garden City. We were charged $23,290,245 in 2013. We've estimated, because we don't have November's billing yet, or December's for KMEA. However, our estimates we feel are very accurate, or really close, and we estimate the total cost for KMEA for 2014 will be $19,200,000. Excuse me, that includes, again, acquiring all transmission necessary, all power supply. It includes the cost of the Jameson Energy Center. Just kind of as a reminder, you know, the facility, the Jameson Energy Center, is presently owned by KMEA. However, we pay for that as part of our power supply. And at the end of the term, when it's paid for, Garden City will be the owners of those three turbines. So we paid $23,290,245 in 2013. We're projecting we're only going to pay $19,200 in 2014. Also, I might add that in 2014 there was no rate increase, no adjustment to Garden City retail ratepayers. Initially, the commission at the time, that was one of their primary goals, was to stabilize rates. We had been told that initially in 2012 that we would receive a 6% increase in wholesale power costs, and that could continue for multiple years in a row. So hats off to you guys on stable rates for 2014. We expect rates to be stable through 2015 and more likely through 2016 without any changes. This is a kind of a bar graph that shows the blue is the KMEA power. That's what we paid in 2014. The red is what we paid Wheatland in 2013, and then the black is I just added a 3% increase instead of the 6% that we were told that could occur in 2014. So you can see the overall where the savings came from month to month. In February and a little bit in March was that we had some initial costs that we had to pay to KMEA, some administrative fees. That's why those months were higher than normal. And then you can see pretty much every month since there, the KMEA supply has been much less. If you added the 3% additional to what Wheatland charged us, that would be an additional $698,000 that we would have paid in 2014 had we just received the 3% increase over what they had charged us in 2012. So the good news is the total estimated savings between 2013 and 2014 is just a little bit over $4 million in wholesale power costs. We had projected initially consultants that we work with. Projected that the savings would be between $2.5 to $3 million. Part of the additional savings is, one is we took advantage of the Day 2 market, the integrated marketplace that just went into effect this last year. That changes the way everybody in the power business does business. We took advantage of some of those costs. We got some really cheap energy at certain times, and our intention is we'll continue to do that in the following years. That's kind of an update on where we're at on the power supply. I'd like to kind of move forward and talk to you a little bit about the electric fund's budget and balances. I work closely with Melinda from the finance department and certainly with Matt. And we've come up with some projections, and I think maybe if Matt can pull that up off of the just the agenda. There's a chart in there that shows the utility rates, some of our cash balances, and capital reserve. One, obviously it's important to have a healthy cash reserve on hand for any utility, but in particular electric utility. Seems like when we do things that are very expensive, it's just the nature of the business. A new substation nowadays costs about $3 million, so it's not something you just run right out and do. You got to plan for that, which we do. We plan very effectively for that. If we were to follow kind of a utility standard, typically you should have about 4 months of operating reserve dollars for your utility. So for Garden City, that would be around $10.5 million. That would be the ideal situation to have for cash on hand or cash reserves for the operating utility. As I mentioned earlier, the Jameson Energy Center is owned by KMEA. We pay all the payments, we pay the debt, and that's included in our power supply. At the end of that, when it's paid for, we will own that, and it will be our asset. We need to start building reserves now for, so we have adequate reserves for maintenance and repair of the Jameson Energy Center until such a time that we own it. Later on in your agenda, we have a resolution to present to you so you can give consideration to that. What we're recommending on the resolution would be to put $750,000 a year into this capital reserve account that would protect the Jameson Energy Center. It would also build that capital reserve account to the point where if we had a major substation failure or something major along that lines, we would have the funds to do that. And then the other thing that we talk about is the operating reserve, where the ideal situation would be to have $10 million in that account. Now you obviously can't do that overnight or over a few years, but it's our recommendation that you consider at least in 2014, and then we ran it out every year thereafter, is to put $500,000 a year into that account so we can start building those reserves. If you kind of look, even if you look forward to 2019, considering the cash balances, the capital reserve for Jameson and the $3 million operating, we're right at $11-12 million, and we felt that would be a prudent approach to present to you. Are there any questions on any of what? I threw out a lot of numbers and a lot of stuff pretty fast, so I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Nope.
Well,
Looks good so far. I think it did what we wanted it to do, to stabilize the rates, and I think that's what it did, so. And then build up, I know the cash reserve balance was low in the electric utility, so that's helping to rebuild that reserve fund back up again.
Yes, it
too,
will.
so.
And in those projections, we had to kind of project what our budget expenses would be in those years. Of course, that could change. Like I say, if something would occur, we'd have to put in a new substation right away, or some major failure, then those numbers would change pretty quick. Melinda and I felt pretty comfortable with that. So.
Sounds good.
and then we also need to decide if we're gonna reduce some rates.
That's be entirely up to the City Commission. I did put some information in your packet as to, should you consider something like that, as to what a rate reduction, what the cost impacts would be to that beginning cash balance, a 1% decrease would equal $282,866. And that's, I ran those numbers based upon a 1% reduction across the board. That would be energy and demand costs. And you see I ran it out up to 5%. So that would be entirely up to you. That would, if you did do that, those numbers would reduce that balance in the beginning cash balances. So just-
Annually.
Yeah, annually,
Right.
yeah.
I think it's something we ought to consider. You know, everybody else seems to be raising rates, and if we could help by lowering some rates, I think we should do it. I don't know where, I'd say 1 to 2%, but that's just my feeling.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, we will have,
Sure.
in January, we will have an opportunity to close out November and December's numbers, so you'll have a very accurate number then, exactly where it is, and we won't be
Yeah.
estimating those last 2 months.
That's what I was
Okay.
thinking, take a look at it
Yeah.
after the first year with some final numbers.
Then we could look at it then. Sounds good.
I'd be more than happy to come back at that time and give you a new update.
Okay. Any questions?
Do we
Well,
need to
Mike, sir?
vote on this, the 750?
That's
No,
later.
that's later in
In
the
the
meeting.
agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll come
All
back
right.
a bit later.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep, thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
You're welcome.
Item C.
Mayor and Commissioners, there's a series of staff reports in the packet. We stand ready to answer any questions you have on those.
Any commissioners have any questions on the staff reports? None being, we'll move on to item D then.
All right, there's some meetings of note. We'd ask that you, any of them requiring RSVPs, that you do so through CLIN. And with that, I think we're ready for item 8A, which is the appropriation ordinance. If that's approved, it'll be ordinance number 2378-2014A.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 2378-2014A.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hall, seconded by Commissioner Fankhauser. Any other discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That passed.
Mayor and Commissioners, item
9A.
9A, the governing bodies asked to consider and approve agreements and consent to annexation from 2 property owners and an annexation ordinance for those properties. They're located south of US 50. The background on this item is that the staff and Finney County Economic Development Corporation for years have marketed this area as the industrial sites for the community. Relatively recently, the properties discussed have become overflow use for TP&L, and that's been a successful industrial venture for the community. We do know that at some point that has an end, and there's an opportunity with the existing property owner who is interested in the future industrial development potential of that property as well, and in a goal of the community having approved, shovel-ready industrial sites ready to go, is requesting that those properties come within the city limits of the city. The property is adjacent to the city limits and is suitable for voluntary annexation. In your packet, you have consent to annexation agreements from Obrate Realty LLC and American Warrior. Those are the names that are on the 2 pieces of property. Effectively, though, the same person requesting the annexation, but still two different entities. So we would ask that you consider approving the agreement and consent to annexation from both Obrate Realty LLC and American Warrior Inc. Adopt the annexation ordinance, and then adopt the annexation ordinance.
I move that we approve the agreement and consent of annexation from American Warrior and Cecil, or Obrate Realty.
I'll second. It's been moved by Commissioner Dahl, seconded by Commissioner Dale. Is there any discussion on that? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
Item B2,
And then we need to do
ordinance.
the-
If approved, it would be number
2676.
2676-2014.
That would be under A.
No.
That would be under A.
Zip. Separate ordinance,
Yeah.
number 24, or, sorry, I scratched it out.
2676-2014.
2676-2014. Okay?
I move that we approve ordinance 2676-2014.
There's been a motion to approve ordinance 2676-2014. Is there a second? Commissioner Law seconded. Any other?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Fankhauser seconded. Thank you. Any other discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passed.
We can come back to 9B. 9C is consideration of renewing the RHID policy. This would be required to be done by resolution, and Ken will present this item.
This is an annual renewal of a resolution passed originally in September 2011 and renewed in December of 2012 and 2013, which determines the needs for housing incentive policy within the city of Garden City. Prior to undertaking the process of adopting an RHID, the city passed a resolution outlining the policy to determine what projects would be viable. The resolution is to be renewed annually. At this time, staff presents the renewal resolution to the governing body. Staff is in anticipation of receiving a finalized, updated community housing report or chat report, but has not yet received it or has a completed report at this time of the update. When we do receive that update, we will, and we receive any new numbers, we'll take a look at those numbers and amend the resolution and present that to the commission after we receive that. We anticipate that to be finalized here, getting the final report together within the next couple of weeks. So, staff recommends renewal of the attached resolution, and at this time, there's no, as far as fiscal note, property tax revenue that has not yet been realized by the city, so there's no fiscal note associated with adopting this resolution.
What would be the resolution number?
2612-2014.
I hear entertain a motion for resolution number 2612-2014.
So moved.
Commissioner Law made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dale seconded. Any other discussion on resolution 2612-2014? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 9D, you recently heard a presentation by Utilities Director Muirhead. One of the recommendations within that presentation was the creation of an ongoing capital reserve fund, and that would be accomplished with the adoption of resolution number 2613-2014.
That's the 750 and the
Right.
500. I'll
Just a
make
750.
Just a
Just a
750.
750, right.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2613-2014.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dale seconded. Any other discussion on that item?
Mayor, I might just clarify that the resolution establishes the fund. The 750 would be an annual budget consideration by the commission.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
Item 10A, Finance Director Hitz has provided the annual Capital Improvement Reserve Fund transfers for governing bodies' review and approval, and she'll present those to you.
Every year, we ask you at the end of the year to transfer money that we weren't able to spend during the current year, during your current budget. They are important projects, so we want to be able to continue them, so you do have the opportunity to move them into the capital improvement reserve. I have provided a listing of those amounts. The first one is the fire study. To complete it, we have $9,200 in it. And then also new equipment in the fire department, $5,250. And human resources, the advisory board is moving over money left over from their multicultural summit, $1,172. New equipment vehicles in police, $26,000. Computer and community development, $1,800. Software and inspections, $18,000. Street tree removal and parks, $10,000. Training in the zoo for the new zoo person that took Christie's place, $5,000. Elephant expansion at the zoo, $19,650. This was donations that were collected through the general fund. The cemetery storage building, to complete it, $5,500. And facilities maintenance, $121,500. That takes care of the electrical transformer for this building, the windows, plus the installation of the windows, and possibly redoing the outside, the caulking of this building. So the total transfers are $223,072, and I just ask that you would, my recommendation would be that you move that money into 2015.
I'll second.
Commissioner Fankhauser made the motion to approve the transfers. Commissioner Dahl seconded. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you, Melinda. Item 10B is a 2 o'clock hearing. Item 10C probably isn't going to conclude the 10 minutes we have. I will jump down to 11A. That's all right, Mayor?
Yes.
This is a continuing disclosure policy, and I'll let Melinda quickly present a good background on this item.
You shouldn't have sat down.
Recently, we've been having some discussions with our bond attorney, Mary Carson, and what we would like to do is formally adopt a continuing disclosure policy. This deals with the Securities and Exchange Act of 1934. When municipalities issue debt, we have to make sure that we're in compliance with all of the disclosures that need to be made public for any sort of investor. We have attached the policy here. Every year we will be updating the policy with the new bond issues that are issued during that year in the attachments. It does require an annual filing with Emma, with our audit, and also any of our bond issues that come about in the current year. Also, if you have any sort of situation that arises during the year as far as that would financially impact the city, we are required to disclose that. So this policy just keeps everything in place with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and it would be my recommendation that we approve that and keep it updated every year.
Sounds good.
I would move to approve the continuing disclosure policy for the City of Garden City's issuance of debt.
So there's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passed.
Thank you, Melinda. Mayor, I think it's time for the 1:30 public hearing. 9B, on November 4th, 2014, the City Commission adopted resolution number 2609-2014. This established a public hearing for today at 1:30 on the creation of a Star Bond District. Upon we would recommend you open the public hearing and take comment from the public. Then upon closing the public hearing, the governing body is asked to consider adoption of an ordinance which would create a Star Bond District.
So I'll open the public hearing at this time.
Mayor Greg Cotton of Sporting Club has asked to address the commissioners on the agenda, as identified in 1A.
I think Corb will probably start off with
And if
that.
Corb wants to start, he can.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, Matt. It's a real pleasure to be in front of you again, and I just couldn't help but run up and take the mic because usually when I'm in your community and standing in front of this mic, we're on the cusp of something big and exciting, and I think that is absolutely the case with what we're here to announce and begin talking about today. But I do want to temper a little bit of that optimism with the fact to say we are only at the very first stage of a very long process here. But we come before you today to ask for you to approve this ordinance creating a Star Bond district. That district will not be created until the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Kansas would approve that, write us a letter as well approving that. But if that happens, then we will designate an area of Garden City, approximately 275 acres, as a place where both state and local sales taxes can be collected over and above the increment and kept here in the community to drive a project of statewide importance. And although we're here today, I think this discussion really goes back to projects that we were all working on several years ago, have really been what have set the foundation. The enormous success this community has seen in the development of the Menards, the opening of the Power Center retail, the work on a hotel that's going on there, the work on the water park that is going on, the Old Chicago that is open, all of those have set the course for a fantastic Star Bond project, and really the first and likely the only of its kind in Western Kansas. To that, this community is to be applauded. We're very excited to play a role. But how did everybody sort of come here today? And I've been so excited to work in this community and work on those other projects, and I always sat there and said, there is a Star Bond project here. There is something exciting and more we can do. And I kept trying to figure out what was the right thing, and the answer was really right there in front of me. My good clients, Greg Cotton, Rob Heineman, and the local ownership of Sporting Kansas City in Kansas City are dynamic, exciting. They create world-class brands and facilities. And when I began telling them the story of Garden City and what you guys were creating out here with the development at Shulman Crossing and otherwise, they got excited and they started to lay out a vision for something that could be very beneficial to their brand and their economics of soccer and Major League Soccer in the United States, but I think could also be extremely dynamic for this community as well. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Greg Cotton and allow him to tell sort of the three-legged stool story of what Sporting would like to bring to Garden City.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Allen, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today and to talk about what is, in our opinion, at Sporting Kansas City, a true extension of our club into Western Kansas and gives us visibility and a big impact in an area of the country, in an area of our catchment area at Sporting Kansas City that we have not been able to get into before. On behalf of our ownership group, Neil Patterson and Cliff Illig, Rob Heineman, Pat Coran, Greg Madej, again, appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and to really express our excitement, our optimism, and our joy in working with a community like this. The interest in this community for Sporting Kansas City goes back many, many years. I have very good friends from this community, Leo Prieto and Eber Gonzalez and many others that have talked to me about this community in the past as we are looking to establish a base of operations in Western Kansas. And I've had a good opportunity to spend some time here today and to speak with many people from this community. And I have to tell you, you guys are playing chess when others play checkers. You get it. And we really like dealing with communities like that. We found a community partner like that in our last Star Bond project in Kansas City, Kansas, and we are very hopeful that we can partner with you on a similar project here today. This project really is conceptualized, as Corb, I think, accurately said, as a kind of a three-legged stool, three main components of the project. The first involves youth soccer. So Sporting Kansas City has scouted this region for the past, well, since I've been involved in 2006. For the past 8 years, we have looked for talent, soccer talent in this region, because quite candidly, this is a soccer hotbed. This is a community that has produced several players that we have brought to Kansas City and put into our Sporting Academy program. And it is a community that continues to develop high-performance athletes that are of interest to us in Sporting Kansas City. I'm very proud to say that when we won our championship in 2013, we actually had 7 local Kansas Cityans on our team, on our roster of 30 players, including Kansan Matt Beasler, who played for the United States in the World Cup in 2014. And so we continually look for local talent. That is our development strategy around players. We're not going to go by the David Beckhams and the Thierry Henrys and some of these players like that you may have heard of. We're going to develop them locally. That's a big part of our brand. It's a big part of our owner's vision, is to create a true local soccer powerhouse in Kansas City. Our catchment area from Major League Soccer's perspective is Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. And we have 13 different academy affiliates throughout those areas. We want Garden City to be the 14th of those academy affiliates with the finest facilities of any of them. And we believe that this project gives you the opportunity to do that. Youth soccer in this area is strong. There is a strong YMCA recreational program. We're well aware of that we would love to partner with. There is strong local soccer coaching. What we would bring to the area is a consolidated professionalism of youth soccer, working in conjunction with the existing soccer community to create a true vertically integrated structure to allow young men and women to play at the very highest levels, to give them opportunities not only to play recreationally, but those that want to play competitively and have the aspirational goals of eventually playing for Sporting Kansas City, to provide them with that pathway. This youth soccer club, again, would be branded, at least in our concept that is in front of you, as a sporting affiliate. We would lend our brand, our technical expertise, by which I mean soccer expertise. We would provide the curriculum for these young men and women to develop. And then on top of that, we would provide the very best of the very best young men in particular, at least now. We would provide them with the opportunity to try out for the Sporting Academy, which we extend to all of our academy affiliates. Those young men would be part of a fully funded program, fully funded by Sporting Kansas City, and would have the opportunity to play at the very highest level in the National Academy League, which is nationwide. The option then for the young men that are not selected for the academy would be to continue to train in Garden City in the finest facilities in the region, and to eventually rise to the level where they would be at the top level and would be offered most likely a scholarship to college. I will tell you that our Sporting Academy, since its inception in 2007, every single young man that has come through that program has been offered a collegiate scholarship, every last one. And we find that to be extraordinary, that we were able to not only develop soccer players that are that good and have that level of skill, that technical and tactical ability, but also young men that can contribute back to the community, that are intellectually prepared, that can go to college. This program, I will tell you, is fully vetted by the NCAA from an eligibility perspective. There's no issues with eligibility in any of these programs that we're talking to you about today. Matter of fact, Sporting Kansas City led the way for our entire league in obtaining NCAA dispensation on eligibility issues. It's not an issue. These young men that come through the program, if they play in a Sporting Academy affiliate, will retain their full eligibility. And so that's kind of stage one. We hope that this youth club will draw from all over the region, and would draw young men and women to Garden City to train 2 to 3 times a week and play their games on Saturdays and Sundays in this community. On top of that, the second leg of the stool is what is called a Premier Development League team. This is a semi-pro team made up, in our view and our vision, of local Garden City and other Western Kansas, Southwestern Kansas young men that would retain their amateur status and play for this PDL team, while at the same time competing in a stadium here in Garden City in front of their local Garden Cityans, in a stadium that has been constructed using the same experience design methodology that we use to build Sporting Park. Sporting Park, as you may or may not know, won Venue of the Year in 2012 by In Stadia Magazine as the finest soccer stadium, I misspoke. The finest stadium of any size, of any kind, of any sport in the entire world is located here in Kansas. And we would bring that exact same design aesthetic to what we would do here in Garden City. Probably on a smaller scale, we don't have $200 million to work with. We would make every effort to engage every constituent and make sure this feels, looks, smells, feels exactly like a Garden City stadium should, with the appropriate constituents involved in that design process. So that PDL team will we'll see Garden City compete against teams from all over the country, and actually Canadian teams too, so even internationally, I guess, if you consider that. And so you'd play against Chicago and Kansas City and Oklahoma and Colorado, and you would play defending the honor of Garden City in these matches, and it's a really cool thing. You'd also participate in the U.S. Open Cup, which is the same competition that Sporting Kansas City plays in and won in 2012, won the Cup. So it's an opportunity for local young men when they graduate from the program to play at a very, very high level and continue to showcase their ability in front of collegiate scouts and professional scouts as well. We would seek local participation in this ownership group. We believe that local ownership of these teams is critical to success. That's what Sporting Kansas City focused on when we rebranded from the Kansas City Wizards in 2011. We were bad at a lot of things, but we were really good at local. All of our owners are from Kansas City. A lot of the senior managers, such as myself, are from Kansas City, and we would seek the same level of local participation in the ownership group of the PDL team. The top level, or the third, I guess, leg of this stool is really a critical economic development piece, and that is bringing local and regional and even multi-state tournaments to this complex. So not only are young men coming from outside of the area and young women coming in to train with the youth club several times a week and coming into Garden City, but 12, 13, 14 times a year, we believe that this area, because it is such a soccer hotbed, will be able to attract regional tournaments, bringing in youth soccer participants from Colorado and New Mexico and outstate Kansas, Oklahoma, wherever it may be, to not only participate in these tournaments, but also to potentially participate in college showcase tournaments in front of college scouts. So this is an important step in the development of a soccer player to play in very high-level competitions and to have an opportunity to showcase his or her talents in this way. And with the facilities that are in front of you, or at least that will be discussed in the next stage of this process, should we be fortunate enough to proceed today, we will line out for you what we believe that economic development and what those impacts look like. When we, as Sporting Kansas City, host tournaments in Kansas City, you'll have people coming in from 20 different states, maybe more than that. They come from all over the country and quite candidly all over the world to play in those tournaments. And we, as Sporting Kansas City, pledge our brand and our support to you and the tournament business, as well as the PDL team and the Youth Soccer Club. I'm sure there are plenty of questions from the Commission. I'm more than happy to answer them either today or at another time, but if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Go ahead.
You touched a little bit on in other words, working with the YMCA, the Rec Commission, and their programs. Kind of go into that a little bit, how you would participate.
Sure. Our intent here is not to come in and take anything over. Our intent here is to come in and work with the community and work with the existing infrastructure and lend some structure to it from a professional perspective. Obviously, there is very strong soccer here. We wouldn't be here if there wasn't strong soccer here. There's very, very good soccer players here. We believe we can lend some rigor to the process around the competitive side of soccer. We'd be very interested and absolutely will in the coming weeks and months ahead, again, if we're fortunate enough to proceed, to sit down with those stakeholders, with the YMCA, with the recreational soccer leagues, with anyone that is interested in this topic in the community, and figure out what the best way forward is for this new Sporting Youth Soccer Club. And I had proposed that we merge a couple clubs together. That may be the answer. The answer may be to partner with clubs. It's really up in the air. We'd be happy to look at any number of options as far as that's concerned.
And you start at age 8?
On the competitive side, we start at age 8. We would like to start at the age of 8. 8 to 18 in the youth club. On the competitive side, recreational soccer can start as young as 3. Really, when you start to talk about tactical and technical development of players, we believe you have to start at around 8 years old. And that is what our academy affiliates are instructed to do, all 13 of them. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Very exciting.
Yes.
Well, thank you all very much for your time. It's really our pleasure and our honor to be here, and I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards should you have it. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment?
Lana Duvall with Finney County Economic Development, and obviously we're just excited about this opportunity and certainly offer up whatever our organization can do to assist with this being located in Garden City. But again, on behalf of our board and our staff, we are certainly supportive of this opportunity.
Thank you.
I'm Shannon Dick, representing Sports Coalition of Garden City, which is named Sporting Garden City right now, but we might have to rename that. I'd like to read our mission statement. You can see why we're excited about this prospect. The mission of the Sporting Coalition of Garden City is: we recognize the central role that sports and athletics play in a healthy lifestyle and physical and emotional development in teaching dedication, cooperation, discipline, leadership, and commitment in a vibrant culture and an attractive city to live in. So we established the Sporting Coalition of Garden City with these goals in mind. Every sport is actively pursued in Garden City should have adequate facilities to practice, compete, and host tournaments in. Strive to develop both youth and adult programs for every sport. Support all sports within Garden City's regional area. To promote a healthy and active lifestyle. To promote multiculturalism through sports. And to strive to make Garden City a regional leader in sports and sports tournaments. And obviously, we can see with the involvement of Sporting KC, we're very excited about this prospect, and the coalition fully supports this project.
Looks like you're doing a little advertising for it.
This is actually from the Open Cup Chamber.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Don't have any advertisement, but Steve Dyer, President of the Garden City Area Chamber, and we are very excited about this opportunity as well. And I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It will really feed off of the existing businesses that we have here in town, and just help everybody grow as a result of this. And we've added several hotels, and I think it will help with that as well. So we are in support of it as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes. Please come forward and state your name.
Hi, my name is Jerry Ortiz. I come before this governing body to tell you that this seems like 100% positive for our community. I am personally asking this commission to consider me as a possible liaison or someone in the community to be active in the correspondence between the City of Garden City and this group from Kansas City. I think it is so beneficial to the youth of Garden City, the Hispanic youth in particular. If you see the names of our participants in our high school activities in the soccer, it is predominantly Hispanic children. I see this as a gateway to maybe creating more college scholarships for these children. Nothing but good is going to come of this program. Once again, if recommendation is needed, I served 8 years on the board of directors of the Rec Commission. I am good friends with Chad Knight of the YMCA. I'm sure both John Washington and Chad would give high recommendations in my participation in this group if it is formed. Once again, just as a concerned citizen, letting this governing body know there are citizens like myself that want to jump on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good
Yes.
afternoon. My name is Eloy Gallegos. As an individual that grew up here in Garden City and played soccer here in Garden City and played collegiate soccer here in Southwest Kansas, I believe that this is a great thing. There are many individuals in this area that have played collegiate soccer, have played soccer, and are now coaching at the high school levels, college levels, and this has been a long time coming. I had the great fortune of working with Greg with Kansas City Wizards back in 2007, and I remember talking to Leo and Greg about this, and to see this actually coming forward, it's a beautiful thing. Now, just to give you all perspective on just the, I'd say we are barely just, I guess, not even at 1% of what Greg and Sporting KC can possibly bring, but these last couple of weeks I played in the soccer tournament in Dodge, and we also brought a soccer or a youth soccer indoor tournament here in Garden City just this last weekend. There were teams from Guymond, from Perryton, from Eastern Kansas, from Colorado, and I mean, those are just to name a few. So individuals are coming into Garden City to play soccer. Now, just to give you a perspective on what Greg said, that this area is thriving with soccer and individuals who can possibly succeed at a higher level. Liberal has won their 5A state championship like 2 or 3 times within like the last 5 years. Garden City's been winning regionals since 2002, and I mean, individuals out here are starting to, soccer out here has become very competitive. I also organized a couple of statewide soccer tournaments, and usually the people, at least 2 or 3 of the teams that were in the finals were from Southwest Kansas. So the opportunity is great, not only for the community and bringing in individuals to come in and spend money, shop at our outlets, stay at our hotels, etc. But this is also a great thing for individuals who want to go to school, and even if they do not succeed in becoming a professional soccer player, like Mr. Cotton said, it at least gives a lot of individuals the opportunity to advance and possibly go on and play collegiate. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I will close the public hearing at this time.
Mayor, the public hearing is closed. If the governing body would consider ordinance number 2677, making findings regarding a star bond project district and establishing a star bond project district within the city.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2677-23.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Fankhauser made the second to that motion. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passed. Thank you very much.
Mayor, I would like to make an announcement for any local interest for any local interested media or citizens that came for this particular project. Mr. Cotton and Mr. Maxwell both agreed to be across the hall, and they will, I think they're prepared to make some statements regarding the material they submitted. I know there were some reporters that were patient enough to wait the whole day to get a hold of these guys. So they'll be located across the hall. We will ask that when you assemble in that room, if somebody would be so kind to shut the door directly across from this room. You can leave the door on the other end open. But if you could control the sound coming through this one, that would be great. We'll take just a couple minutes to let the rooms
transition.
Yeah, equalize. Which may not be that equal. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Projects.
One person.
We just have
We'll stay here for this one.
Hey, we have no.
Yeah, we just got out of the room, watch this.
And the other people get excited.
They know they can catch this on TV.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Well, we still got Matt.
Yeah, and a few others. We're all good.
All right, Mayor, I believe we've got a few minutes.
We have a
I'd
few, yes.
Consider moving down to,
11B or?
yeah, 11B. Let's look at a couple of advisory boards. If it's all right, let's see. Where is it? Okay. Mayor and Commissioners, 11B, 2 advisory boards are looking for appointments. One of those is the Alcohol Fund Advisory Committee. This committee looks at the distribution of alcohol, the third of the alcohol funds that goes towards preventing and treating drugs and alcohol in the community. They make recommendations to both the City Commission and the County Commissioners. That funding source could be in jeopardy, but it probably has been in jeopardy for about 10 years. And so the distributions are qualified with that we have to receive the funds in order to distribute it. This committee also makes recommendations for what we call the community grant, and that's the portion of the general fund money that the commission sets aside to address different requests from individuals one time a year. They can be social groups, just generally the sort of the things that would otherwise maybe be considered donations or contributions throughout the year. We centralize those at one point during the year, around the same time as the AFAC committee considers the drugs and alcohol. They do both of those. So I say all that, but if you're wondering whether or not it's even worth the time making an appointment, I do think that even if those funds go away, that there's still a purpose for these board members. The recommendation of the group is to appoint Susan Escarino and Verna Weber to the 2 vacant positions. Actually, is there 3 vacant positions now? Oh, Ashley's gone. The Finney County Commission appoints one. They've appointed Kevin Basque. So the other 2 are appointments made by the city, and
so just those 2.
They recommend Susan Escarino and Verna Weber.
Commissioner Fankhauser made the motion to appoint the 2 to the vacant positions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Law. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
11B, the Cultural Relations Board has vacancies, and the recommendations are as shown on your agenda and up on the screen. I could take a shot at the names.
Yeah.
Rachel, Mel, Lisa, and Liz.
There
How
you
about
go.
that?
That works. I'll make a motion to approve the Cultural Relations Board appointments as presented.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on that
Do you have
item?
the names in that motion?
Yeah, Rachel, Mel, Lisa, and Liz. Any, no other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That was approved.
The Alcohol Fund Advisory Committee, are we to determine the length of terms?
Yes. Because there was one that was for a 3-year and then one that was a 1-year. Or we could determine, I was looking at that, we could either do it as a 1, or could we say keep them on for 2? Or does it have to be, or does it have to be 1?
I think if you identify one who's filling the unexpired term,
Okay.
that would be good, and I think you could do that by taking a separate motion.
Yeah, probably motion.
Okay.
And that's just identifying the one.
Which one would take the longer term?
The unexpired term of 1 year. And then that person could be reconsidered for 2 full terms beyond
Later
that.
on,
That's
okay.
right.
I'll make a motion that we take Susan Escarino for a one-year term and
Vernon Weber.
Vernon Weber for a 2-year.
For the 3-year.
Expired.
3-year.
Okay, there's a motion to have Susan Escarino fill the one-year term and Verna Weber for the 3-year. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dale, second. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
It's 2 o'clock. Mayor and Commissioners, item 10B. This is a public hearing for the purposes of the governing body hearing and answering concerns, questions, and/or objections of taxpayers relating to the proposed amendment to the 2014 City of Garden City budget for the following funds: the Capital Improvement Reserve, DEA Forfeiture Fund, 12-6A13 Revolving Fund, and the Special Rec and Parks. You need to open the public hearing.
I'll open the public hearing. And I'll close the public hearing. And we need to approve, let's see.
Right. Yeah, now that the public hearing is closed, the governing body is asked to approve the certificate of budget amendment.
Do I hear a motion to approve the certificate of amendment?
So moved.
There's a motion to approve the certificate of amendment of the 2014 budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dale seconded. Any other discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That passed.
Mayor-
On to the consent agenda item, right?
No, we have
Oh, C, sorry.
Mayor, at your November 4th meeting, the governing body asked for a staff report on the building code issues prior to issuing a new request for proposals for the use of the State Theater. City Engineer Cottrell has prepared a memo for the governing body's consideration and direction, and I'll invite Steve to come up and talk about this a little bit.
You were doing so good on the other ones.
I just can't do what you do,
Okay,
whatever that is.
whatever that is, yeah. I'm not sure I know what that is either, so, okay. Brief background, we started this process early in 2013 when we signed a memorandum of understanding with Mark Pamplin for use of the theater. He was given approximately 6 months to raise funds before we would actually transfer the deed to the property. We entered into an amendment extending that fundraising period through last September, and that was subsequently extended a little bit to allow him to do or finish another performance. At the November 4th meeting, commissioners noted that there were several concerns with continued use of the building and asked that we take a look at it from a code perspective. So did that on a couple of occasions, November 10th, and we'll follow up on the 21st. And Fire Marshal Larry Laban has drafted a report which is attached to the memo, and he is here to answer any questions you might have regarding that. So you want to ask questions about the code review, or
Any questions on the code review for the fire marshal? Okay, guess not.
geez, what'd you do?
We might come up with something later
That's
on,
true.
you never
That's
know.
true. So,
Be prepared.
with that in light, we have some recommendations for some minimum improvements that we would suggest need to be completed before the building is used again for public occupancy. We think those will be in the neighborhood of $10,000 or less in total cost. Those would be installing exit lights, emergency lighting, fire extinguishers, and then working on the rear exit door. The way it sits right now, it's barred and bolted, and
There's just one exit to the south door, is that right now?
It's the one in the north, to the north of the stage. The one to the south goes into a wall.
Yeah.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. So it's
Pretty
kind of a semi-closet.
It's like a closet.
Yeah. So this would be the one on the north side of the stage that leads out to the alley. At this time, we wouldn't necessarily have to make that ADA accessible. It's just a matter of making sure that it is open when it's under public occupancy. As discussions or decisions continue on permanent use of the building, there's obviously going to have to be some additional conversations with building inspection and the fire department as far as life safety issues. But there are some things that can be done now to mitigate some of those concerns at little to no cost.
What about the ADA bathrooms?
I think Caleb's ruling it under the existing building code portion of the ICC. It's nothing necessarily that has to be done immediately, but it's one of those things that as plans progress for a permanent use, regardless of whether it's Mr. Pamplin's concern or proposal or some other one that may come up out of this process, the ADA restrooms and ADA access will have to be addressed in some fashion.
So I assume that this $10,000 would be paid by somebody.
It would be city expense. It would be at our expense.
That $50,000 in the 05 fund from years ago?
Yeah.
So we use that money?
Yeah. We included $50,000 in the 2011 bond issue to do some environmental remediation that to this date hasn't been done. And depending upon what happens in the building, may get addressed without, so those funds are still sitting there. We would recommend that we use those to make these minimum.
A bigger expense is heat and air conditioning. It got pretty hot in there this last summer and pretty cold later on, and that's, to me, a bigger issue. Somebody's got to address that.
Well, I think these are just bringing it up to life safety issues.
Right.
Honestly, it really depends on
depends on how
the final use of the building as far as what HVAC requirements would be. Mr. Pamplin's concept of the theater and the round would probably have different requirements than continued use in its present state as an auditorium style theater.
How many seats can we put in there?
There's 380 now. 381. to be exact.
Is that okay with the fire marshal?
International Fire Code, pardon? International Fire Code is the code that the city is under presently as far as existing buildings, as far as compliance. And a key element is the occupant load of 300 is when fire alarm and sprinkler systems kick in. So 380, however many, exceeds that number. So we're concerned about the numbers of occupants as well as staff and participants would all be included in that number. So that's a key element, that's a trigger. As for
So what are you saying?
So
Can't do
we
it?
have to have less than 300.
300, yeah, I know. Is that what you're saying then? We can't have 300, we've got to have 300 or less
Yes.
people, seats, so we,
Well, seats, occupants, staff,
staff, whatever.
total people in the building. Correct.
But this alternative one would get it up to a point where it would address most of the life safety issues, correct? The safety, alternative one would, I mean, not the
It gets
sprinklers.
it to a stage that the building could continue to be used.
Okay,
Maybe not fully filling all the seats, but you'd be able to get a pretty decent crowd in.
But we'd be concerned about, how do we restrict that? Is it just a matter of understanding that whatever the activity is within the building, at no time it would exceed 300, we'd have to, earmark that, and document that.
okay.
The other things Steve talked about, emergency lighting, exit signs, so forth. We've thrown out a figure of 10,000. I'd like to see how that's all divvied up to arrive at that, at that level of safety that we feel is needed, so that we don't jeopardize or place occupants in an undue level of risk.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is there anything scheduled in the near future?
No.
At this stage, it's kind of on hold pending
The new proposal?
your decisions today. Yeah, so the alternatives for you would be to approve or authorize us to do these minimum improvements. And as I said, if it looks like it's going to cost more than that 10,000, we'll come back and let you know. You could also decide not to do anything, make these improvements now and not allow further use of the building until it completely meets code. And that could be done with or without the issuance of an RFP. You could just simply put a for sale sign in the front window and be that simple, or we go back through the RFP process again, which I updated the one we used a couple of years ago and tweaked it a little bit, so it's here for your consideration if that's your direction.
Any comments from the audience?
Sure. Are there any comments from the audience on the State Theater?
I'd like to make one comment.
Just
Just regarding...
State your name
Oh, I'm
for the
sorry.
record, so everybody on TV knows who you are.
Mark Pamplin, I'm with the State Theater Project. Just addressing what Commissioner Fankhauser brought up about the air conditioning and things like that. With the $10,000, after The Odd Couple and after Catch Me If You Can, the two shows, we're associated with the Garden City Arts, and I was approached, and we are open to grants. FinUp Foundation, Western Kansas Foundation, and Convention and Tourism. They approached me and told me that we were eligible for that. So that's just something to think about, that these are things that we can apply for for the ADA standards and things like that, and getting it up to being usable. So that's just all I want to say.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yes.
Since I came, I think I should speak. I'm Priscilla Hallberg. I'm the Executive Director of the String Academy of the Plains, which has been in operation for 8 years and is a string conservatory. We don't have a building or any kind of studio space. And I'm also on the board of Garden City Arts. And, you know, there has been quite a bit of talk about trying to find some sort of space where we could use for an arts center. And I don't know what I'm not totally clear on what the intention is for the State Theater. I've been to 2 of the productions that Mr. Pamplin has put on. They were excellent and I enjoyed them very much. And I think it would be a terrible loss for the community to not have him continue. But I also think that we need to have some, we really need to have some unifying work done with the various arts organizations within the community. And I think that if there were an arts center, that we would be able to use the facility for many different things. And I don't know, I haven't toured the behind-scenes part of the building that is the State Theater, but I know that there might be some area that could be used for studio space for artists. My husband is a photographer, would be looking for studio space. I'd be looking for studio space, and he would too, as we're the two teachers at the String Academy at the Plains. And I think also there's a restaurant next door that's involved in it. Someone spoke to me about, well, could it be a dinner theater? I don't know, but I think that it might be a good thing to discuss with, to call a meeting of local artists and arts groups. In working with you, perhaps we could find out what could be done. I would like to say that we are a 501c3 organization. We have received $20,000 in funding this last year from many organizations, including the Finnick Foundation, Mid-America Arts Alliance, Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission, the WKCF, and the Finney County Finney County Convention of Visitors. So we have done a lot of fundraising, and I would just like to say that I think that, especially today, hearing all the excitement about the soccer academy, I think that this place needs an arts center. It needs a place that people coming from out of town could use to, that would make them want to come and spend the weekend or spend a week or whatever, because we have the mall and we have the arts organizations. If we could coordinate it all, it would be a real plus. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? All right. So, go ahead.
I'd make a motion.
Okay.
To spend the $10,000 to upgrade the fire safety issues at this point. Doesn't sound like we can use it at all if we don't do that, so.
Okay, there's a motion to approve alternative one.
Yeah.
On the memo. There was a second. Any other discussion on that motion? Yes, sir.
When I brought this up before, I was concerned about the safety aspect, and I feel that we probably have met that at least on a temporary basis, so I really don't have a problem with that. I just don't want to see us back in here rediscussing 6 months, a year from now, whether this is going to be a success or not because of either lack of being able to raise money, make it their own way as they go. I don't want to see us having an involvement other than what we have is the B&R building, and whoever uses the building, they get to use it, and they try to make appropriate improvements to the building. If they use it for what the building is meant to be, I'm happy with that. I would not like to see the building being leased out for wedding parties and we start drinking in there, which changes the building's fire codes and everything else in a different manner. So we have to watch out what we do. I am not for putting money into keeping the electricity going. I don't think the citizens of Garden City should pay the utility bills. If you're going to operate this structure and use it, it becomes your responsibility to do that, not the city's. So I think whatever deal you can work out with the city to reuse it for whatever is used within the contents of the code as a theater, I'll go along with it. Otherwise, I'll be back.
I'll be back. You're right here, right now, though. But I think really the motion was really to spend the capital just to update the exit lights, the emergency lighting, fire extinguishers, and a functional rear exit prior to any future use. I think we need to kind of have a discussion on kind of where that will go. This was just mainly approving those updates, and then we probably need to discuss where we want to go from there.
Send out another
So,
RFP.
well, first let's get past this motion of this, and then we could discuss what we want to do possibly after that. So, any other discussion on approving alternative one with the motion by Commissioner Fankhauser, second by Commissioner Dahl? None? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? That was approved. Now,
Mayor and Commissioners, the second piece of this is, now that we're past the timeout that was called by city staff with respect to some safety issues, you would direct us to come back to you with a request for proposal process that you could consider as a way to dispose of the property. And so that's presented for your review and comment and potentially your authorization. Steve, do you want to go into some more detail about what's in this request for proposals?
Yeah, it's essentially the same process as we used a few years ago. Shortened the cycle just a hair, timing-wise, figuring that there wouldn't be lots and lots of submittals. So rather than go through some kind of a shortlisting process, anybody that submitted a proposal would have the opportunity to make a formal presentation to the City Commission, and then you make a decision at some later date. So I guess, other than that, I did note that we needed to do the life safety things. And I guess it's a question of, do we follow the RFP, do proposals like we did, or simply, or would the outcome of that be pick someone and transfer the property immediately?
I'd like to ask Mark what his, are you interested in taking this project over and subleasing it out and paying the utilities?
Absolutely. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in Garden.
So you would probably, we could take proposals again, but I don't know.
But that's where we were kind of at last time, I thought.
I'd be glad, I'd be very happy if Mark got it again, but I think that there might be somebody else out there. Mrs. Hallberg just, expressed an interest, which sounded to me more like all these groups ought to get together and see if they pool the resources. Now, maybe this is a more doable deal. Maybe we get one RFP back of several different entities working together, collaboration, exactly. So,
well, that was the idea from the beginning, is bringing all these things together. As far as studio space, there's not a lot of stage space.
Yeah.
I mean, the stage is very small, so, but
Studio for teaching.
But I mean, we do it, on off nights and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm reaching out to everybody, anybody that is in arts, in theater, in music, I mean, they are all friends of mine. So.
Okay.
I move we approve issuing a new RFP for the use of the State Theater.
Been motioned by Commissioner Dahl to release or request or send out a request for proposal in the State Theater. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Law. Any other discussion?
Are you looking for some dates in your blank?
If you would care to give me those. as an idea, that would certainly.
February 1st or, when's our next meeting? Or I guess the proposals could come to you first and then present them.
We could have proposals due.
What was the timeline last time on this?
Monday.
Do you remember?
It was a few months.
Maybe March 1st.
It was like,
Yeah, there was a fairly lengthy time for people to put a proposal together. And then they were submitted. We had an opportunity to shortlist.
Okay. So you want to amend that motion to March 1st?
With the deadline of submittals March 1st
It's a Sunday.
of 2015.
It's a Sunday. I was just saying
Oh.
it's a Sunday.
Okay, March 2nd.
Monday.
So until 10 a.m., March 2nd, 2015.
Okay.
When's our next meeting?
And then the presentation to the city commission will then be made on whatever that next meeting would be then,
Be the
17th.
17th, yeah.
17th?
March
Or-
17th.
Okay.
Commissioners, I don't know that, my observation based on the proposals that were submitted last time, which I would guess would be the extent of the proposals, the nature of the proposals submitted this time around.
Mhm.
It's going to be by and large local interests, different groups, the degree to which they partner and don't partner. There will be some time necessary to create those partnerships, but I don't know that there was a tremendous amount of time put in the authoring of the proposal once the concept was born. Is that fair? I don't know that it's going to take 3 months to put proposals together, and I would say whoever's successful would probably want to make use of it in the spring, so maybe an earlier decision the better. I don't know. I mean, you've used it for the last 2 years. What is not getting in the building until the middle of March due for you?
well, I'd like to be doing, I would like to have been doing a show in May over Beef Empire Days, but,
So February 1
but,
deadline?
Is that enough time? But
I have a proposal, so,
Yeah.
so if I need to reword it
You better
or get
refine it a
together,
little.
yeah, get together with some groups, that's fine, but I'll be resubmitting, so.
Perhaps we schedule the presentation to the first meeting in February, and then I back date a schedule to make that happen.
I mean, they just need to be open,
Yeah.
put them in the package.
Right.
There's no
So
way to
they,
evaluate it.
yeah, they would just be due by Tuesday or Wednesday of the week before
Yeah.
the first meeting
There
in
you go.
February.
Is that right?
There's not a lot of technical analysis that goes
Okay.
into the staff work of present, I mean, it's
Sure.
largely going to be a
Collect
policy
them.
decision of who ends up with the
Send them
building.
out. Okay.
January 28th.
Yes. Lana,
I'm sorry, I have a question.
please come forward so that people out in the public can hear your
who you're talking
question.
to.
Yes.
The only thing I would ask is that, will there be then with a list of requirements that it's going to, for the building to be populated again? Is that going to be made as part of the RFP, the overall requirements that are going to be required? And
Overall
along with an
requirements,
estimate of
what?
what they think that would
Yeah,
cost?
the full report from the fire marshal will be in there as well as
And there's an
statements
estimate of
stating
what
that
that's going to
it,
cost?
yeah.
Well, use of the
Well,
building
that-
determines that. I mean, if someone wants to store chemicals in the building.
Yeah, I mean,
And if alcohol is involved, I think the sprinkler system is required with one person or 300.
So I guess that would be my only question. We've had as you're aware, Engineer Cottrell, we have had a few people express an interest, but we would want to be able to give them enough time that they would be able to ask the appropriate people the appropriate questions
Yeah.
so that they could put together
Yeah.
a legitimate proposal. So, thank you.
So, Lana, with February 1st, you feel that would give them enough time?
That all depends on how much has already been done. I mean, if the requirements are there for the certain occupancies, I don't, then it doesn't sound like it would be that big of a deal. It just can't be a what if continuously on, that there's no way they'd have a proposal done that quickly if they have to do that, because it will require having, obviously, the sprinkler companies come out, and so it's a little more technical. If somebody's gonna put in their request, they don't want to put in a request and find out it's gonna be $1 million more than they anticipated.
That only gives about a month and a half. It would be February 1st. I don't know if that's enough time.
I guess we could always change it, extend it if we needed to, couldn't we?
I mean, I just don't want someone to say, oh, I don't have enough time, so I'm not going to submit anything.
Then pick
That's fine.
a date farther out. I mean, I'm just offering that we've been through this process once before, and there was absolutely nothing technical in either of the proposals. I mean, it was simply a, do you want this group or do you want this group? And I would think that if someone was interested in using the building for a particular use, they would know what the code requirements were for that use. There is knowing what the state of the building is that could be problematic, and we would make that available. Now, is this the right time of the year to be able to do that in 6 weeks? I don't know. If you start in the 5th week, no. If you start now, maybe. There's no problem with going to March 1st. If the commission feels confident that there's going to be interest in this project, and it sounds like there might be, then that probably is worth pushing it out into March/April for a decision.
Okay. March?
March 1st.
Okay.
Be the second.
Second.
Or second, March 2nd.
Second, yes.
And would Commissioner Law would amend that to the 2nd, and then that would make the presentation to the city would then be made on the 17th.
17th.
March 17th of 2015. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye then. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passed. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Let's see,
Okay.
I can't, I'm gonna have to go over my chicken scratches. Are we ready?
We're on for the consent agenda.
All right. There's no change in the consent agenda, so I've approved to be C1 through 4, H.
Quadruple H.
All right, I will make an attempt at this. Mr. Mayor, I'd move to approve the consent agenda C1 through 4, H.
There was a motion to approve the consent agenda C1 through H. Commissioner Dale seconded the motion. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passed. We just want to go on to commission reports, or we want to
Yeah,
to executive session?
no
And then we can
action.
just back up. Okay, we'll start with commission reports. Commissioner Law.
I just wish everybody happy holidays, and leave it at that, I think, this time around.
Okay, Commissioner Dale.
I also want to wish everybody and staff and all the people of Garden City a happy holiday, and also I want to thank the Downtown Vision for having the parade this year. It was a very colorful parade. Again, there's only one suggestion, and I've talked to Mike about it, and to see if we can somehow have a little more background light, because you can't see the people or the Muppets and the buses and stuff that we're going down. There's just not enough light to see faces, so maybe we can figure out a way to have a lot more light on the sides to where you can see and still see the color of the parade. But I thought it was great. Mother Nature worked with us. It was nice.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Dahl.
I too would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and also please keep your thoughts and prayers with those who are not able to be with their families and are serving our country, allowing us the freedoms that we have. I'd also like to thank Sporting KC for choosing Garden City as a affiliate of theirs. So it's very exciting. I've been to their games before, and the energy in there is amazing. And I understand they've had 54 consecutive sellouts in Kansas City, so it's a very dynamic organization. I'd also like to encourage people to participate in the Citizens Academy It's a great way to learn about your city if you're not very familiar with it. And also, I'd like to thank prior commission and commissioners who made the decision in regard to our electric provider. $4 million is a lot of savings in 1 year, and that's fantastic.
Okay, and Commissioner Fankhauser.
Well, I'd like to also welcome to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And also I'd like to comment about the presentation at 11 with the fire station. I think that was a good report, and I learned a lot from that. Also, keep in your prayers our past city manager. Bob is, I guess, is recovering in pretty good shape right now in Colorado Springs, so keep him in your prayers. That's all.
All right, I too would like to echo all what the other commissioners have stated about happy holidays and, Sporting KC choosing Garden City. It's another great day to be in Garden City and how we're expanding and being a true destination location in this community, and definitely for Western Kansas. Also, thank Mike for the report on the electric rates, and shows that we made the right decision and moved forward and stabilized the rates, and hopefully in the future we can reduce the electric rates for our citizens. And then the fire report, or facility study for the fire station, that was a very, very good report. Some interesting ideas on where we could go with our fire service in our community, and gives us a good foundation to kind of make some decisions for our fire department. So very, very good study, and well worth the resources that we put into getting it. The other thing that I have is, I did hear that the county commission passed that they changed the electronic messaging board time from 15 seconds down to 8, and that might be something that we might need to look at, just to kind of stay consistent with what they're doing, so we aren't having different times and people getting confused and stuff. So it might be something that we might look at.
We keep changing that, lowering it.
But just kind of remain consistent. If they're at 8 seconds and we're at 15, then people might, but it might be something that we might look at. Other than that, that's all I've got. So happy holidays from my part. Do you want to start with because we've got the 3 o'clock, do you want to do the item E first?
Let's start with D.
D, okay.
He's ready. I would say that about 30 minutes, and we'll include Michael Seck in the discussion.
Okay, is there a motion to?
Well, let's maybe take about a 10-minute break. Is that okay?
Okay.
We need to get things set up.
Okay.
So at about 2:50?
2:50?
Okay.
So we'll take
recess at this time.
You can either make the motion and say we're going to
start
be back at 2:50, or come back at 2:50 and make the motion. So that was...
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Fankhauser moved that we go into executive session pursuant to KSA 754319B2 pertaining to the consultation with an attorney for the body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship at 2:50 p.m. for 30 minutes, and have Michael Seck be available by phone along with Randy Grizel and Matt Allen.
Right.
All right.
And Commissioner Law second. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed nay. Passed.